Hello, listeners. This is Steve from Empire of Geek. I thought I'd record a little introduction to the show this week because we've been away for a little bit. We went on holiday, a few of the different members of the podcast, and I thought you, the good listeners at home, all 6 of you, deserved a little explanation, and this here is it. So we were away for a week or so. We're back now, and this show we recorded couple of days ago now is going to be split into 2. So the first half of the show where we talk about films and television and stuff is going to be the first half, and we also talk about other crap as well. Robots. It's not crap actually, it's exciting. Robots killing everyone and stolen vampire director skulls. It's all in there. And then the second half, which is Ultimo Geek and the comic stuff and the convention stuff and things to do with Gotta Stop Saying Stuff all the time. And also the fan film of the week. That's all in the second show, which will be popping up a few days after this one. So just wanted to give you a little heads up, and less of me ranting on. I'll let you get straight on with the show. Hope you enjoy it.
It's alive! Show this prehistoric bitch how we do things downtown.
Welcome to Empire Geek. Well done for talking over the intro then at the end.
Sorry,
Andy, you bastard.
I love it so much.
When was it Father's Day?
When was what, sorry?
Father's Day.
What's that got to do with...
Well, I've just seen you've got a card up there from your less than 1-year-old child saying, "Love you, Daddy, happy first Father's Day." When was Father's Day?
A few weeks ago.
Oh, shit.
It was ages ago.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, it was in June, yeah. Yeah, it was a long time ago, yeah.
I totally forgot about it.
What?
Oh.
What a great son you are.
I was going to say, if your dad listens to the podcast, but first of all, he already knows you've not bought him anything, and secondly, do you think he listens to the podcast?
No.
It's not his kind of thing, is it?
He can barely turn his computer on. Just want to use the CD drive as a cup holder.
So anyway, on the show this week, we have got Raoul, who clearly doesn't love his father. You heartless bastard, forgot about Father's Day.
Yeah.
And we've got Andy as well. How are you, Andy?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah, how are you?
I'm not too bad. Thank you for asking me. No one ever seems to ask me.
I'm good as well, thank you for asking.
We're going to get to that in a minute. You can tell us some of your what BS you've been up to this week before we get into the rest of the show. The last show we periscoped, and we averaged overall about something like, on average, about 2 viewers. And I think,
God, off the chain.
Me and my girlfriend were 50% of those viewers. So, but if you look throughout the whole show, we got a few people. We got about 120 odd people listening, but they could have just come in and gone. So we're not going to give up on the Periscope thing, but we were going to buy masks so we could hide. Some of us want to hide our identity. Obviously, Raoul, man of mystery, you want to hide your identity. Because if Operation U-Tree happen to tune into Periscope and they see you, they'll be down on you like a ton of bricks.
We're raiding your house.
And I've got my mask, which I intend to wear. Andy, you don't care, do you?
I'm not too bothered, no. I haven't got any warrants out for me like Rob.
Yeah.
So,
Raoul, yeah.
Oh,
Easy your
God.
name, we'll get him. So anyway, before we get on to the show this week, so we will be doing Periscope again in the future at some point, but I just want to get it set up, because last time we did it, if any of you happen to watch it on Periscope, I just had the camera point at the TV, and that's a bit shit. They need to see us in action. You need to see Raoul moving, and
Slowly and clumsily.
you need to see Andy looking at his phone and taking no fucking notice whatsoever to get the full feel.
I'm not.
He's ogling cosplayers.
No,
He is, you dirty perv.
but yeah.
Well, male cosplayers as well.
He loves the muscles. Anyway, so we're missing 2 people this week. We're missing Catface Paul,
Oh,
who he's got no reason not to be here.
I know.
Well, he's going to Ibiza, isn't he?
That was last week. He went to Ibiza.
Was he back now?
Oh,
He's
he
back,
had it
yeah.
large, Rob.
I heard.
Raoul.
I heard he was up to shenanigans.
He went with an utter dickhead. That's got to be said first of all. His friend Pete, who he went with, is a prize wanker.
He's all right.
No, he's a dick.
You've hung out with him.
I met him once. He seemed all right.
Well, I've met him twice before that. And the first time I met him, I didn't think much to him. He seemed like an okay guy. Second time I met him, he was an absolute bellend.
What did you do?
So I'm in a pub. This was another town nearby, and I went over to him and went, "Hey, you're friends with Catface Paul?" And he went, "Yeah." And then we were chatting for a little bit, and he was being weird. It's very almost what he was saying had very little to do with what we were talking about, as if he had his own different conversation to the rest of the universe. And then he said he wanted to shake my hand, so I went to shake hands with him. And
like halfway through the conversation, I want to shake your hand.
Yeah, but he didn't say it, to put his hand out to shake hands. So I shook hands with him, and I always instinctively, because years ago, this is a story within a story now, years ago I used to play squash quite a lot, and there was a South African guy I used to play with, and he, as all white South Africans are, was a dickhead. They all are. The only good South Africans are black South Africans. There are lots of exceptions. I did meet some nice white South Africans, but not many of them.
Isn't your ex-girlfriend a white South African?
Yeah, anyway, moving on.
Point proven.
Yeah, dick. He made a point of trying to squeeze. He used to try and squeeze my hand. At the time, I wasn't up on handshakes. And on a good handshake, you need to force your hand into that handshake to avoid them. Because if they get your fingers and start gripping your fingers,
that's it, mashed.
It feckin' hurts. So ever since then, I've always put my hand fully into a handshake. I've gone for it. I've committed.
You've gone deep.
I've gone balls deep. So I went in deep, as I always do, which people seem to like, because Catface Paul...
You're talking about handshakes.
He said to me, he said a handshake is the signature of a man, which is a load of bullshit.
Oh, it's rubbish that.
It's a man's signature. So I went in deep, and he gripped my hand, and because I'd gone in deep, and there's not much you can do to hurt me, and he starts squeezing my hand, and he's squeezing and squeezing, and he starts looking me in the eye, waiting to see if I would show some type of
Well, that is
reaction.
a bit of a dickhead thing to do.
And he held my hand for about, I'd say, between 40 seconds to a minute, which is a long time.
What? Ridiculously long.
It's a long time.
That's getting to territory where you're thinking, hang on a minute, I'm going to get raped here, and you want to smash around the head.
I'd have said something by then. I'd have been like,
that is a long
I'd have been like,
time.
what the fuck are you doing?
Well, to begin with, you go through that thing of that going, and it continues, and you think, fucking hell, he's a lunatic. So I mentioned I pulled my hand away, and it really annoyed me, that did, because I thought, what a dick. Now,
That is a bit odd.
he had some personal problems. Some bad things happened to him. But he was at this Paul had a party after the last show we did, and he was there, and you met him there, and he didn't try and crush my hand, but he's a dickhead, isn't he?
He was a bit eccentric, shall we say.
You loved him, Rob.
No, he's a fucking
Raoul.
bellend.
Oh, God.
Andy, you're very moderate compared to me, Raoul. What did you think?
Well, you told me about the handshake and all that. You've given me the brief before.
The handshake thing makes him sound like a bellend.
And I was a bit like, well, did he really grip it that hard? Or, because everyone's got an opinion.
His normal handshake is quite firm.
But when I shook his hand when I walked in, he proper clamped my hand. No one's ever like that before. Straight away I was like, that's the guy.
Yeah. I don't mind a clampy handshake. What I don't like, and I draw the line at, is when that clampy handshake goes beyond more than a few seconds. It should be quick, and then you withdraw, don't you? In and out.
It was like an uncomfortable...
Like at night. In and out and gone. But that's what it should be. It shouldn't last for a long time.
That is probably the most revolting thing you've ever said on this podcast.
I don't know.
At night.
So
that is hideous.
So that
even I'm shocked.
I haven't got onto that, but he's a dick. But what have you been up to, Raoul?
Just working my arse off, building cool stuff involving...
But it's all secret so far, isn't it? It's all hush hush,
Yeah.
as always.
Yeah, and plus, well, if the people we're working with actually knew what came out of my mouth, they probably wouldn't be working with me anymore. So, yeah, it's top secret, it's cool, it involves green screens. So,
yeah, so it should be good, shouldn't it?
It should be good, yes.
Andy, what have you been up to? Getting your life back on track?
Yeah, just working, immersing myself in work.
Keep away from the crushing pain of the real life.
Come back to my musical roots,
Are
starting to work on my beats again.
Are you really in crushing pain?
No, I'm fine.
No, he's doing good now. The ladies are after old Andy.
Of course they are.
They are.
Oh yeah, I mean.
No, I think they are. You know, I saw you standing up there earlier. Your shoulders have got bigger. You're looking proper muscly.
You say that to me every time.
But you seem to get like more muscly each time. So
you are looking good. Actually, one thing that did happen to me was in between. There's been a gap in between this show and the last one because I went on holiday. I went on holiday to Norfolk. Because Lisa, my partner, said she wanted a holiday, and she said,
partner.
A partner. We're not married.
Well, it sounds like a game of rounders.
It sounds like that's what gay people.
It sounds like
You know, it's like my people who are still in the closet, but like my partner. You go, oh, what's your partner called? What's her name?
It's like that.
It's
It's that classic one at work when someone says, "I've been away with my partner." You think like, oh, you have to refer to him as either he or she. You think,
Not that there's anything wrong with that. Let me say. But anyway, we went on holiday. Went to Norfolk and. We stayed in the caravan, which I am kind of against anyway to begin with.
You like caravan?
Why are you anti-caravan?
Oh, it's just I don't like
Did you have to shit
being
in a
around
bucket?
other people.
Shit.
We didn't have to, but I did.
Shit in a bucket in the cupboard.
Yeah, it was very nice. It was a very nice caravan. It was.
I mean, a lot of caravans now are quite trendy, quite posh. They've got proper bathrooms in them and stuff.
Did you have a shower?
I think they've had proper bathrooms in them for a long time now. I don't know when you were thinking. Did they have a shower?
Yeah.
It's been 20 years since I've been in a caravan.
It didn't have like a sandpit.
It wasn't like a bag of water
Piss.
for your head.
A proper
It
shower.
was a proper shower.
Better than our shower here.
Wow.
Tesco's bag with holes in it.
Yeah.
But the best thing about
That's your new bag.
about Norfolk we went to is, and this caravan site was. The people living next door to us she was a single mother because her husband and her had split up, and she had 2 teenage children. And sometimes I don't like being around people because I want to be on my own or with people I like. I don't like having people's business forced in on me, but I don't mind if their business is a blazing argument they're having. And so regularly we would turn off the TV and we would listen in and. They were well worth the cost.
Was
of
it like
caravan.
Jeremy Kyle?
Sweet Jesus, it was amazing. Some of the arguments. But one of them was the lad. His name was George. I actually recorded them as well, which I shouldn't have done, but it just made me chuckle so much listening. The lad George had been accused of stealing something from somewhere or other, and they're all going to go out for burgers. And because I think he'd been told off for thieving, he wasn't very happy with his mother. And he was letting her know and his grandmother was there as well.
What?
And
you don't go swearing in front of your grandmother.
And he was saying stuff like, "I'll probably have to bleep this." He was like, "Oh, off! I don't want to come out. That stupid I didn't steal any thing. I don't want to come out." And then every so often you'd have the grandmother going, "We're going for burgers, George." And he'd be like, "I don't want a burger. Tell that stupid old shut up. I don't know what to do with you, grandma. You
How old is this lad? How old is this lad?
I think he was about 15.
He needs a bloody slap round the head and told, you don't speak like that to your grandmother or
No,
your mother.
I bet you were lying.
You were loving it. Were you on the glass and the window?
I can listen to it. I just turned the TV off and I was sat near the window anyway and I opened it, pulled the little blind.
So they were that loud? It actually got because obviously the caravan.
Everyone could hear.
Wow.
The next caravan site along, you could hear them, and it was brilliant. But the nan just stuck to her kind of semi-cheerful. "We're getting burgers. You're going to miss out on a burger, George." It was brilliant. And in the end, they went and they left him. He didn't want to go, but yeah, he was. But it was just so exciting listening to them. I loved it.
Did you record?
I did record. I don't know about the legality of me playing any of it on.
Oh.
I might put a bit of it at the beginning of the show. Just have him swearing or something. So if you
Is it
hear,
good
No
recording?
one can identify him.
it's not a great recording, but I do a lot of stuff to improve the sound and everything.
Oh, I
so
want to hear.
I might do.
We got it. And George, if you're listening, you potty mouth little shit, show your mother and your grandmother some respect and don't steal, twat.
Yeah, I think it was Robin that he did. Anyway, should we get on with the show this week? So the first thing I want to talk about is it was 2 weeks ago. It was San Diego Comic-Con, and we spoke a little bit about the fact that Kevin Smith did a panel for his new film Yoga Hoses, and Star Wars, who were in the hall before him, invited everyone to a free concert, and so everyone left him there. But some of the major things I want to talk about is Superman vs. Batman and the Star Wars panel and the trailers and the videos they showed. So we'll start off with Superman vs. Batman.
Yes.
Raoul, what did you think of the trailer?
I thought it looked shit hot. I thought you finally got a decent Batman. an old kind of crusty, grumpy,
Can I just
angry.
say, are you really saying that we finally got a decent Batman? You were following Christian Bale with
I never
Ben
thought.
Batfleck.
I never thought I would say that of Ben Affleck, of Batfleck, because I was the biggest hater, wasn't I?
Hey, it's gonna
I think,
hate.
well, no, I think everyone universally thought it was a bad move, apart from Ben Affleck and his agent.
But you know, having seen the trailer, I think it's probably the characterisation how they represented Batman in this film. He's older, he's grittier, he's armoured up. You know, he's more underground. It's more. It seems more real, if that makes sense. More likely.
Do you know what I liked? I watched, because I didn't go to San Diego, I watched the panel, I watched them on YouTube because I'm sad. And there's a funny bit where Ben Affleck was saying, they're on about him being Batman, and he told him two particular stories. There was one of them where he was in a toy store with his kid, and they were in an aisle with lots of fancy dress costumes for Batman.
Yeah.
And guess who walks in?
Henry Cavill?
No, Christian Bale.
Christian Bale. Oh, right.
And Christian Bale had his son, and he says that. So he looks up and he sees Christian Bale there, and there's all these Batman dress-up outfits. And Christian Bale comes over to him and says, "Oi!" And he chats to him, and he says, "You got any advice?" And he goes, "Don't piss in the bat suit." And then just walks off.
Sounds like your neighbour.
And you mean Bob?
Yeah.
Bob's gone on holiday again. I have my next door neighbour who, Florian, annoys sometimes by parking on his lawn. I've developed, well, I think Lisa might have mentioned it, an obsession with him. Because we
Like
think
a man crush.
No, not so much a man crush. More. It's
Bloody hell. An actual crush.
an actual crush on Bob. I think he probably is a Cockney bank robber who relocated her because he turned stool pigeon and whatever on the gang. But less about Bob. Anyway, the other story he told was, he says that Zack Snyder rang him up and says, we want you to be Batman, and he had a lot of reservations because Christian Bale is regarded as a really good Batman. And we can disagree in a minute. And Zack Snyder said to him, "Look, we wanted a different type of Batman. We wanted one a bit more like the Dark Knight Returns comic book, the Frank Miller book." He said, so we needed to be this kind of old, broken down kind of. He's had loads of failures, and he's got nowhere else to go. And he says, "I thought of you straight away, Ben Affleck." Yeah. So continue what you're saying. So you like the look of the trailer?
Yeah, I mean I like the new portrayal of Batman as this slightly hard-nosed kind of grittier kind of someone who's actually found a purpose, whereas Batman in the other Christian Bale films, he was just a bit more angry, but almost.
He did see both his parents gunned down in front of him.
Well, yeah, but his anger was a different. How can I explain this?
And he comes home and finds the city which his father kind of took control of, and he's trying to turn it into a shit pile.
But the anger in this is sparked by he sees Superman. He becomes quite obsessed with Superman and wants to destroy Superman, and that anger's kind of channeled and focused.
I agree with that, particularly because what it does is, and some people are asked whether, if in the Superman Man of Steel film where they fight, and I mentioned this on previous podcasts, they fight in Metropolis and loads of it gets trashed.
Yes,
people have said that they don't know if Superman versus Batman was in the thought of when they did that. But it fits in really nicely the fact
because
that
it gives
Superman's
the justification. Yeah, it gives that focus for the anger, doesn't it?
Apparently, what they've said is in this that it's a bit different from the comic books in that Metropolis and Gotham are pretty much next to each other.
Right.
Gotham is like a sister city which joins up with it, which is very
kind of like
different.
Newport and Cardiff.
Exactly like Newport and Cardiff. So, say if someone started destroying Cardiff and you saw that, you'd be like,
No!
And you want it to get in there.
No, actually, Cardiff. Let Cardiff crumble. Let Newport rise from the ashes. I don't know. Anyway, I also like the. I don't quite know what's going on, but it looked like Superman had a bit of a cult following. You had soldiers and so forth with Superman logos, like they were followers of him, like they worship him, like he's some kind of god. So it'd be interesting to see how Superman handles all that.
I think there's people who think he's a god, but I also think there's people who think that he's a... Because you saw Jesse Eisenberg, who plays Lex Luthor, saying there's a bit where he says...
He's an odd choice for Lex Luthor.
The devils didn't come from below, they came from the skies and all that. He does shave his hair at the end of it, yeah.
But even so though, with the you know, regardless of his appearance, I just think he's an odd choice to play the role because he's not... I can't see him being particularly menacing or calculated or...
Do you not think though he fits in quite nicely? As for some people have said, when I look at that film trailer, it looks amazing, and then I see Mark Zuckerberg from from Facebook or the network or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
I think they've chosen him for that reason. I think they want Lex Luthor to be very much like a big, powerful, self-made dude, like probably someone like Mark Zuckerberg.
But a bit of a wimp, someone that if you met in a bar, you could take out if you had to.
But you do see in the trailer them unzipping a body bag with Zod in it. He's going to get Zod's armour, I reckon. And you do see... Because imagine if he wore the Kryptonian armour, and then retrofitted it to himself so he could fight Superman.
And he's probably got the skills and resources to deliver on that.
And he'll test his blood and find out that the weakness to it and synthesise kryptonite. But you see him with kryptonite in it as well.
Yeah, that's true.
So that could be quite interesting. You also see Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot.
Yeah, how does she factor in? Because she wasn't... Wonder Woman was just a badass Amazon, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was from this island where they all lived, yeah, and then she...
But she wasn't... She's not like... she's not like from Krypton or any alien world. She hasn't got any alien superpower.
There's been some talk about making her into a Kryptonian, but I think that'd be a bad idea.
Yeah.
The way that's... because obviously I read loads of different things about it, and some of them are just made up shit, or just guessing. Some people said that Superman appearing in Man of Steel, and basically the world being invaded by General Zod, was the thing that brought her out. Like, she lived there, and it was like, now there's these super beings on the planet, she has to go and find out.
So that was kind of like a trigger then for her.
Yes, and for Batman and for all the other stuff. So they'll probably use that as their... There'll be some cool name, such as Zero Day or whatever. I'm sure they give it. But the day when Metropolis got trashed by all this fighting and...
Because there seems to be a move afoot. I mean, for all the superheroes to come out from the... they're all building big crossovers, aren't they, at the moment?
Oh, yeah. Well, DC need this because Marvel are hammering them in the films.
Yeah.
TV-wise, DC are kicking ass stuff like Arrow, The Flash. The Flash is even bigger than that now. And they've got Supergirl, which is surprisingly quite good, actually.
And they got Gotham.
And Gotham as well, which has got a second season as well. So, that's what they want. But then Marvel, there's always the threat of... You got Daredevil, you got the second season of Daredevil coming, The Defenders, Luke Cage. So I think there's... DC want to get the films.
I want them. I mean, have you seen any of Lucifer yet?
No.
I haven't yet. I want to start watching that, but I've heard that they're definitely not renewing Constantine.
Oh yeah. They weren't going to renew it. Then they said they were going to renew it. It's not. So it could still get picked up by something. But
because I really enjoyed Constantine.
I did as well. It was really good. And Matt Ryan did a brilliant job as.
Yeah, he portrayed the character.
I think it would be a shame if someone don't pick it up. Imagine if someone like a Netflix picked it up and they could make it even darker and gritty.
Now, the only problem with that is Netflix are in bed with Marvel now, aren't they?
Yeah, that's true. So, or you could get something like the Stars Network.
Or Amazon.
Amazon, yeah.
Amazon could do it.
Or PlayStation. If they wanted to do it. Because they make their own shows, don't they, that Powers thing. What did you think to it, Andy, sitting there on your phone chatting with ladies?
I'm not. I was just... reading up on this.
Chat with men.
Were you really?
Yeah.
What can you tell us about it then?
Well, it's...
I'm going to put you on the spot. Having a bit of trouble, are you? Yes.
I disagree with what Rob said, really.
You disagree?
No, I agree.
Oh.
Without any further questions.
And that's all I want to say on the matter.
Oh, come on, I'm not.
This is a lively debate.
My worry about Periscope is this: we start periscoping, and then some people start watching it, and through some twist of fate, Andrew Cook becomes the breakout star. What a nightmare that would be.
What, because of his muscles and charm and shit?
Well, muscles, I don't know about the charm.
Yeah, not the latter.
He'll just stand there like, smouldering or whatever it is. Who was it that did all the smouldering?
Again, the listeners don't know all our friends, so they won't know. It's Rachel's boyfriend.
Yes, Craig.
He
that's
does
right.
smolder.
He does the smouldering, yeah.
Right, next thing I want to talk about is the Star Wars Comic-Con reel. They didn't have any new stuff. Well, they didn't have any trailer, for Comic-Con. But what they did do is they had lots of behind-the-scenes footage, and they put them together with a musical soundtrack. We saw Simon Pegg was in there dressed as a monster, which is quite cool.
He's starting to crawl his way into every single kind
Star
of...
Trek.
Yeah, like
anti-Peg.
cult sci-fi. Not anti-Peg. It's just he seems to be crawling his way into every single...
I think the people love him.
Yeah,
he's writing the new Star Trek film. He's co-writing it. So he's mates with J.J. Abrams. That's how he's in there. I like the idea. There's also a rumour that Daniel Craig is going to appear in Star Wars, but as a stormtrooper or a monster, and you won't even know it's him. They reckon that they might get him. Simon Pegg is probably going to do a cameo, and you won't know who he is.
Yeah.
And
But I mean, Star Wars is full of that, though, isn't it? I mean, it's rife for the, with everyone behind so many masks.
So, what did you think of the trailer? Well, the reel, not
Well,
the trailer.
it didn't really show you a lot. It was more kind of, rehashing more or less the same. The trouble is, it's difficult because these films kind of fit in. They bridge almost like the gaps between existing films and
new films that have not been made.
Well,
that's what they are.
yeah, no, but in terms of the storyline, like they're kind of like almost like 0.5 films. Like do you know what I mean? They're like, you've got A New Hope, and then you've got Return of the Jedi and Empire Strikes Back and all that. These films
not in that order, ladies and gents.
Yeah, I got the order wrong. I know, but these films kind of fit in between those films.
No way! This is a whole new trilogy. That's why, from what they say, Han Solo's going to die. It's the beginning of a new story.
What do you call it?
The
Squadron
anthology
Rogue
stories
Squadron.
do fit in between.
That wasn't Rogue Squadron we were seeing then.
No.
Oh right, well then that's what. Right, okay.
That was The Force Awakens, the big film that they've been promoting for the last year. Keeping your finger on the pulse.
Well, it looks like it'll just be the same old. So.
Well, it's funny you said the same old because one of the big things they've been pushing. They did this in the panels when you watch them. They're pushing this whole thing about practical effects. They're saying everything like the robot B-88 or whatever it's called, the ball thing. They've actually made a model of that, and I saw they did a Star Wars celebration a month or so ago, and that's remote control. They brought it out, and they're like building a lot of the actual creatures. So they're pushing that because the Phantom Menace got absolutely hammered for all the CGI in it.
Yeah, well, it looked. The trouble is, Phantom Menace's CGI looked a little bit too plasticky in places as well.
It was too clean looking on it a lot of the time. Although they keep pushing that it's all practical, although everyone knows the Millennium Falcon being chased by 2 TIE fighters through a bigger crashed ship.
Yeah,
that ain't gonna be all models.
Well, no, the thing is, what you do is you use a combination of, don't you? So you've got your physical effects and your visual effects, and you combine the whole lot and build stuff up to suit.
Yeah, and that's what it is. And in fact, J.J. Abrams did say that at the on the panel. He said, "Oh, it is. We do the best of both to do it." I love seeing the actual practical stuff. I remember years ago there was a TV special, and we recorded it on VHS, and it was inside the monster shop of Star Wars. Well, Jim Henson worked kind of with them-ish.
Yeah.
And stuff. 'Cause obviously, it was him who put Frank Oz on to be in Yoda and all stuff like that. But I think Henson's worked with them making the monsters, I'm guessing. But they went in the monster shop, and it showed you that they had a Gamorrean guard and all that, and they had Salacious, is it Salacious Crumb, whatever his name is? The little guy who sat with Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah.
And they showed you all the monsters, and it was freaking cool. I love stuff like that. I love the kind of the latex and the models and the.
Are them still involved?
Feisty one, you are.
I'm guessing they probably are. I know Lucas, the companies that work with them will, because they've all been bought by Disney. So yeah, they will be. Yeah, anyone who's not working with them is George Lucas. They got rid of him. There's a bit shit ideas.
Well, just stuff it up, won't he?
Yeah.
Andy, you excited for the new Star Wars film?
I am actually. Yeah. I watched all the others. I know I don't sound excited, but I'll definitely go.
I am. I cannot wait.
No, I'll definitely go and watch
I'm
it.
excited. I watched the others.
No, but I mean, like, I've always followed it.
To be
so.
fair, if you go and watch
I don't
a film,
follow.
you must
I
be
don't follow it
excited.
in the intricacy that you follow it in. I'm probably more a normal kind of person. I'm not saying
You're a normal person. There
No,
we
but
go.
I mean, I'm your average Joe. You know?
Your average Joe lifts a ton at the gym. And
Yeah, I'm just your average guy. I mean, I put my trousers on the same as everyone else every morning, one leg at a time.
And then you make
No, I
gold selling records.
Trying to have more cowbell, but
If anyone knows the reference there, can they can tweet me and we'll not give you any prize whatsoever if you said git. So you excited for it? Because when it first came on before the show started, you said I thought you implied that it was shit.
well, my concern was the last 3 films were shit.
I had to stick up for them. Phantom Menace, Darth Maul, he was cool. The rest of it, yes, there's a lot of bad stuff. Attack of the Clones, I quite enjoyed, and Revenge of the Sith was I thought that was pretty good. It didn't save the whole thing, but there was particularly the fight at the end was good. Some of the dialogue was a bit shitty.
Yeah.
Revenge of the Sith, where he goes, "You're meant to bring balance to the Force,
Is that the
Anakin,
final
not destroy it." It's, yeah. And he says something about "You've turned evil," and he goes, and it's the worst dialogue in any of the films. He goes, "From my point of view, you're the one who's turned evil," or whatever. And I thought, what a shit thing. You're fighting on floating droids above a lava pit. And you go, "From my point of view, Obi-Wan, you're the one who's a bit naughty."
Is that the lava scene? Yeah.
Yeah, on Mustafar,
Yeah.
the lava planet. Yeah,
Oh.
I love all that. And do you not think that one button that they accidentally press turns off all the shielding and drops the lava, the mining facility, into the lava? They have one button, no kind of backup. If I would delete something off my PC, I get about 3 warnings.
Are
saying,
you sure?
Are you sure? But no, one button pressed and it's like...
The whole thing into the...
Health and safety in the future is not what it is today.
Well, it's not the future.
The past.
It's a galaxy
Far away.
far away, long time ago. Yeah.
Right, now we're going to leave that now. We're going to talk about some more up-to-date stuff. Now, this story came out over the last few days, and it's a Spiderman controversy. It's to do with the costume. Now, Spiderman, who was created by Stan Lee and artist Steve Ditko in 1962, there's always been arguments over who created it. For example, Stan Lee used to take all the credit, and then Steve Ditko was like, "But I drew it, you bastard." And Stan Lee was like, "I wrote it, you son of a bitch." And then Steve Ditko pointed out that the Marvel method was that Stan Lee would ring up an artist and go, because he was so busy, "Here's an idea for a story. Spider-Man, he goes to high school, gets bitten by a spider, and someone kills his Uncle Ben," whatever. And then the artist would actually draw it all, then Stan Lee would put the words to it afterwards. So the argument was that actually a lot of the stories, which he took credit for, were really more the artist than actual Stan Lee, which is one of the big criticisms, that he took advantage of artists. People like Jack Kirby.
Well, I mean, for years people have been saying that's how Image Comics came about, because they're fed up with being taken advantage of.
Yeah, particularly Stan Lee. Everyone loves Stan Lee now. He's in all the Marvel films and he goes to the conventions. And I'm not going to say that if I was at a convention and Stan Lee walked past and said, "Do you want a photograph?" that I wouldn't go, Dan.
Well, like when Jimmy Savile, before we knew,
I never got an autograph with him either.
No.
Stan Lee's nothing like Jimmy Savile. Can I just say that? Stan Lee is a good businessman, and he was a busy guy. He was writing, pretty much all of Marvel stuff at the time. Anyway, this particular controversy is because of a guy called John Ciminoa, who is a comic and toy dealer, and he bought a bundle of stuff that he wanted to possibly sell in his shop. And one of the things he found was this Spider-Man suit, which is kind of yellow, and it looks slightly reminiscent. It's because of the forehead, it has Spider-Man written, it has black bits around the eyes, and it has black arms and legs, and then like spider patterns across the body, and a big black spider just off centre on the chest.
it looks rubbish.
So it's kind of similar to the Spider-Man costume, isn't it?
Tenuously.
Tenuously. Turns out that this suit, so Spider-Man was first appeared in a comic in 1962. This suit was created by Ben Cooper, who were a Halloween kind of costume maker, in 1954. And Ben Cooper, the company, was a Brooklyn costume company. Now, he argues that these were sold through magazines, and we've got a drawing here that we found online, which would have been in some of these magazines or newspapers selling it. The argument is that the company was only 10 miles away from Marvel. So if they advertise this in leaflets or posters,
Marvel would have seen it.
Marvel could have seen it. He's
Right.
arguing that. Now, while that itself is reasonably tenuous, he is also saying that he believes that there's a good chance that Jack Kirby, who drew the Fantastic Four and stuff like that, and who actually claimed before he died that he invented Spider-Man, Jack Kirby, he believes, could have actually worked for that company.
Right.
Now, Jack Kirby's son, Neil Kirby, says, I've never heard of him working for them. But what he's saying is he could have worked for them, or, because he was in that area, he could have definitely seen those outfits, used that outfit as the inspiration for a design, which was then taken on by Marvel, by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko got the credit for it. So he's arguing, he says this is basically a, what's the right word for it? It's
Inspiration or a muse or a...
conspiracy. He says this is a conspiracy that goes right to the heart of Marvel, which it isn't really, but I can see there's a bit of a point in it.
If you look at the head, with the way the lines are drawn on the head, that is probably the most Spider-Man-like. And the fact it says Spider-Man on the...
It's a shit costume, isn't it, though?
It is awful. So, you know, if put it this way, if Spider-Man was this wouldn't have gone far.
Yeah.
You know.
But if say Steve Ditko saw this and then he used that as the basis, because particularly the drawing of it where they advertised it is not far off Spider-Man. When in black and white, in colour, when it's yellow, it looks shit. But if you just shaped the face down, it wasn't quite such like a big cardboard box.
It looks like an urn glove, doesn't it?
It does.
It does. Yeah.
For a big tea cosy. But it's interesting, the idea that maybe this inspired Jack Kirby. So could it be used to prove that Jack Kirby invented?
But, you know, you could stick man on the end of anything, like Dog Man, Gorilla Man, Cow Man,
Andy Man,
yeah.
Ape Man.
Yeah. So yes. So what do you reckon? Do you reckon did Marvel rip off Ben Cooper costume designs?
Well, I think there's enough of a deviation for it. You know, you could probably say it might be inspired by, but to say it's a rip off, I think is a bit much. I mean, I wouldn't say it was a rip off.
Incidentally, though, in like the 50s and the 60s and whatever, Ben Cooper created around about 60 to 80% of all Halloween costumes in America.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah. And now they went bankrupt, I think, 1990 something.
How are you producing that much stuff? Do you go bankrupt?
Obviously, things went down. You this isn't the business podcast. You make the business go bigger, and then your market suddenly drops as other people come into it, and then you're screwed.
And you can't meet,
maybe
competition, cheaper suppliers, etc.
But the next thing we'll talk about is this story came out today. This is cutting edge. It's the 2015 International Joint Conference on Artificial Intelligence in Buenos Aires at the moment. And at the very beginning of it, a letter was written out. What the hell am I saying? A letter was written out. A letter was read out. Basically, all these top AI scientists and intelligentsia have said that they believe that something has to be done because at the moment they're saying if any major military power pushes ahead with AI weapon development, a global arms race is virtually inevitable.
I bet the US is already well ahead of the curve.
And they're saying that the key question for humanity today is whether to start a global AI, artificial intelligence arms race, or to prevent it from starting. It's funny you should say that, because the Americans in 2012, Washington imposed a 10-year human control requirement on any automated weapons, which has been welcomed by some people. Because the fear is that we build... Well, Stephen Hawking has said this quite recently. Stephen Hawking believes that we are very close to this kind of apocalypse situation where robots turn on us.
Yeah.
Well, the singularity, they call it the singularity, and there's the idea that a robot will become, or a machine will become intelligent and able to program itself and develop itself and think for itself effectively, to all intent and purpose, become alive, have consciousness and all that kind of stuff. Now, the jury is still out on whether that will ever actually happen. However, it is certainly possible where you could engineer something, a killing machine or whatever, and it set the goals of killing, and it will learn certain
It's one of
tactics.
the main points. Imagine if terrorists got a hold of them.
Yeah.
And they set them to go and kill people.
Yeah, and these machines would just go about their business and just do their business.
Just think if we could turn them on terrorists, though. At the same
Yeah, because
time.
you can, it's
How do they... Well, again, how do you spot them? Does it not scare you, the idea of this kind of soulless, emotionless machine? Super strong.
Yeah, yeah.
But with no humanity and empathy.
You mean the Andy bot?
The Andy bot.
Teeing up his
Andy.
little jokes.
This giant
I
soulless
wasn't going
machine.
there. I wasn't going there. Interesting enough, one of the things I looked at when I was researching this was the UN in 1998. They banned lasers that could blind you for battlefield use, because obviously America had developed a laser with the intention of that you blast the enemy with it and it blinds them all.
Well, that happens in any built-up city in England at the moment, doesn't it? When they, when the police helicopters
laser
out.
pens. Yeah. I think the idea of this was, I imagine that you just keep blasting continuously. When they look around the corner,
What?
you blind them.
Like, pa-choo, pa-choo.
Exactly, that's the noise that
I
lasers
don't know if
make.
you can do a better laser sound than that.
The difficulty is that we are
Like a cat on a Ferrari.
but we are capable of building some serious weapons that can do some serious
That's why
damage.
that's why I'm surprised, because the US are so secretive about the technology they have. I think they must, there must be somewhere.
Also,
they go
like we say there that the UN backed, saying that laser weapons that blind are banned. America has said that there's a 10-year human control requirement on automated weapons. As far as I understand it, that cluster bombs are illegal to use.
Yeah.
They did them in Iraq.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
phosphorus
Yeah.
is illegal, but the US still napalms,
But they
is
still
bad.
use
Landmines.
them.
And no matter, you can have a worldwide ban, but what weird shit goes on in China? Did you hear about the head transplant doctor? No, there's I've forgotten his name. He's an Italian doctor, and he successfully transplanted the heads of mice while maintaining their nervous systems and whatnot, so they could, the transplanted mice had full use of the limbs. They died not that long after, but because of rejection and other things. But they had full use of limbs. Now he's trying to do this on a human.
I have heard something a little bit like that. I'm thinking trying to get permission to.
That's
to do
right.
it.
And he went to America and went for a round of talks and stuff. Anyway, he got slammed by every single news and media outlet, and absolutely taken to pieces. And the scientific community, the vast majority of them said that it is highly likely that what he proposes would work, but the ethical issues and all the other issues and the amount of money required to do it, etc., is so vast, and they, to all intents and purposes, shut the whole thing down. So this dude has now gone off to China. I've forgotten his name. I need to find out his name. But he's gone off to China to try and do it over there. And apparently the Chinese are quite receptive to doing it.
You know what they're like, they suck the brains out of monkeys, don't
Oh my word! I'm glad that you're saying all that stuff.
they? No, but I just mean like...
For a reason, or
it's
just for
very-
fun?
They suck the brains up. There are certain
We had on Bongo.
there are
They had
certain-
monkeys.
big ethical issues though.
No, I just mean they're not that ethical around...
Think of it
things
this way.
like that.
Have you ever seen the film The Island, where they grow people
Yeah.
Yes.
You,
so they can use them? So imagine if in the future you're very super rich, you don't want to die,
you get your clone.
you
don't
clone yourself, and then they cut the head off it and then put you on a young body.
Yeah. Well, I mean that aside, just the many of the scientists believe that if you were to have your head transplanted onto another body, you would cease to remain as yourself. Like the actual act of having a different body which experiences things differently, which is different sensitivities and so forth, would have such an effect on your psychology that, to all intents and purposes, you could essentially become, your personality would change. You would become something different to what you were.
Imagine if they got though, say someone like our friend Blake from university who had the biggest head in the world.
Giant
You'd
head.
never find a body big enough for someone like him.
I thought, I had a big head. I found out why I had such a big head.
He didn't have some kind of horrific kind of head.
Well, he had epilepsy as a child, and
Giganticism.
He was a good dancer. Continue. Get him in
Yeah,
the
well,
club.
apparently one of the side effects of epilepsy in childhood, because your brain expands and all sorts, is
Big head.
big head. Yeah.
You got the worst case of big head I've ever seen, Doctor.
I remember he gave me a lift back once back home because we lived probably about an hour. Well, I lived an hour away from him, but it was en route for him to go home. And he was in his old Golf GTI. He had the windows up. He chain smoked the whole way, and he had his chair so far back. It was like he was lying down while driving, and he was singing "Oh What a Feeling," and it was just Lionel Richie's greatest hits. And by the end of the journey, that's what we got. We got within an hour, and he wanted £100 off me for fuel, which I said it wouldn't cost that much. But he was, anyway. No need to hear this story. I guess you had to be there. So
I'm sure the listeners will love that. Anyway, I'm still going to warn you. The dog is stinking at the moment.
I know.
So
He's rubbing his backside on my leg.
He's not rubbing his backside. He's just curled up next to you.
Does he let
Should be
one
grateful. Oh yeah, Jesus wept. It took the enamel off my teeth. It was horrible.
When was that earlier?
And just a few moments ago, I was trying not to show it, but I was gagging. Literally, it was horrible.
So why am I the arse then? Why can't he turn around and put his arse on Andy?
Because
I don't know.
you don't know. He'd like to show you the arse.
Yeah. What do you think to this? Are you scared? What do you think about the idea, Andy, of maybe imagine taking one part of a human body, attaching it to another part, so you end up with people who are massively misshapen, like with big top half, skinny kind of legs. Andy.
What different week, same joke.
What if it got to the point where you could wire up a human head to one of these killer robots? So it would be like, but you'd be like really angry because you're
cut your head off. Yeah.
Yeah, you've had your head's been cut off, been attached to a killer robot. It's getting to the point now where all this weird science fiction shit,
Who's going to cut someone's head off, and then after they cut the head off, hook them up to a robot with guns on it that they can then operate? You know they're going to be pissed off. You're only going to put a head of someone who wants to do it on there.
Well, this is what this crazy Italian doctor said. That I don't know why everyone's complaining about it, because I'm not going to just chop the head off somebody who's not consensual.
It could be handy for people that say you're disabled, say you've got wasting diseases,
but
say you repeatedly skip leg day. This is the kind of thing that could.
Heck off.
This is the kind of thing that could help you. I'm going to move us on to the next thing. So, we always talk about remakes, and they've announced a remake of the film Nosferatu. The Nosferatu, or Nosferatu Ein Symphonie die Grauens, it was a 1922 film which was by F.W. Murnau, which starred Max Schreck as Count Orlok. And it was massively famous, possibly one of those well-known vampire films. Have you seen Nosferatu?
Years ago. It was silent, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a famous scene which you always see of him going up the stairs.
Yes.
And then him kind of fading out as they open the...
And I don't know what they did to the footage, but it actually looks... The way they've shot it is very eerie and a bit stuttery in places. It's quite...
It was made in 1922, so you got these, the camera stuff won't be like what we have now.
No, but was that deliberate or just
some of it was. It was a German expressionist film. It was originally it was an unauthorized adaptation of... That's me knocking something off behind me. It was an unauthorised adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula. They couldn't afford to basically buy the rights to Dracula, so they changed stuff. So Nosferatu means vampire in their film because they couldn't afford to use the name vampire. Dracula became Count Orlok, but they kept some of the other names like Mina Harker and all that.
Yeah.
And the film became really popular. Then Bram Stoker's widow, Florence, she kicked off obviously because it was his intellectual property.
Yeah.
And she sued them. And a court decided that all copies of the film should be destroyed. And so they gathered up all the copies of it and they burnt them all.
Was this a German court?
I'm guessing it would be.
Typical Germans destroying art and
burning books
burning
and
books.
stuff.
Yeah.
But the 10 copies of the film abroad, and those copies of the film which had gone abroad were saved, and it became kind of the first cult film because it got passed around and people liked it.
Well, I think the destruction of the prints probably helped with that.
Well, it makes you want to see it, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's like, what was that banned film that was doing the rounds?
Cannibal Holocaust.
Yeah, and what was the one that I said I could get you at university but never delivered?
Texas Chainsaw
That's
Massacre.
right, Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Waited
yeah.
so fucking long that they actually allowed it.
It became legal, yeah.
So they're going to remake this film from 1922. What do you reckon about this? It's a classic, probably one of the most iconic horror films of all time. Regularly in the top 10 or top 5 horror films.
If they were... by remaking it, will it lose some of its menace and its magic because of the way it was shot and because it was a bit flaky, because it was all like, you know, there was only speaking and
So
stuff.
the kind of expressionist.
Yeah, that kind of flavour to it. I mean, I'd like to see it, but would it be sympathetic to the original?
So if Jamesy was here, Paul, he
He'd go all like
would be
arty-farty.
talking us, so I'm going to have to do a little bit of that.
It's film noir. And,
Matter.
Well, film noir
franchise.
was directly influenced by German expressionist films.
Yeah, and also
James,
well, you say that, but it was also because
A lot of the filmmakers are running
the
away
skin.
from Hitler as well.
yeah, and also because they were skin and they couldn't really afford all the lighting and all the other bits and bobs.
But think about stuff like the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which a lot of painted backdrops on there. What you find with German expressionist films is that they are very much a reaction to what had kicked off at the end of the First World War.
Yeah.
The fact that Germany could not understand. It had been this big industrial power.
Yeah.
It had been hammered, and then it was bitched over quite badly.
It was
by
it
everyone.
was treated abysmally, wasn't it?
And so it was a dark time, and so German expressionism supposedly is a response to that. If you look at other examples of German expressionism, like Otto Dix's artwork, I am going very Jamesy at the moment.
You are, yeah.
He did these cool pictures of like skull-faced German soldiers in trenches and things like
Lottie
that.
Reiniger, whatever her name was.
Yeah. All of those, particularly things like Otto Dix's artwork, stuff like the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, all of them kind of represent the kind of darkness that Germany was feeling at the time. So I think this new film, if they went for the German expressionist, went into it and tried to take some of that stylistic stuff but use modern technology, that could be pretty fucking cool. You know, as homage. Well, now the film has been remade before. Now the first of these was in 1979 by Werner Herzog. And his version starred Klaus Kinski as Dracula instead of Orlok, because by that time, I'm guessing the rights to Dracula had become probably public domain. So it had gone...
I think it was like 50 years after death.
50 or 60, something like that.
Yeah.
Now when they made Nosferatu the Vampire, they made two versions of it. One where they spoke in German, one in English. They didn't dub it or anything. And it's supposedly it did really well, considering it was a remake. Critically, it's well acclaimed. They reckon it looks really good. It's an art house film, so again, old Catface would love it. One of the things when I was researching into it, though, it got accused of animal cruelty. Now, I was reading that they had this Dutch behavioural biologist who they brought in to work on the film, and his name was Martin Ter Hart. And that was the dog flipping his ears. Roll, you have to crap yourself. And he was working on the film and eventually said, I'm not going to work on it anymore, I've had enough. Dashed, you have to do that. And he cited examples of, they had lots of rats that they used in scenes on the film. He said that when they travelled with them, the travel conditions were terrible. And he also talks about the fact that old Werner Herzog, he wanted the rats, which were white, to be grey. So he decided the best way to make them grey would be to dye them. And to dye them, what he did was he immersed them for a few seconds in boiling dye.
What?
Huh?
Killed half the rats, and the other half, which survived it, they basically ended up, all they did was they licked the dye off their fur, which is what this Martin Ter Hart said would happen. He said they will lick the dye off the fur, there's no point in doing it. So he also said that he mistreated horses and sheep that were used in the film. So when you think about those things, that is...
Well, he sounds like this Werner Herzog guy sounds like the vampire, sounds like the monster.
He didn't sound like a very nice guy. But Nosferatu the Vampire was it's highly regarded, you know, it scores very highly. Now the other version, which I've not seen Nosferatu the Vampire, I've seen Nosferatu the original.
I've not seen Nosferatu the Vampire either.
But I have seen Shadow of the Vampire. Yes. Now Shadow of the Vampire is a satirical film based on the making of Nosferatu. It's produced by Nicolas Cage's Saturn Films. He's a producer on it, Nicolas Cage. I didn't realise that. And it stars John Malkovich and Willem Dafoe. And it takes the idea that Max Schreck, who played Count Orlok, actually was a vampire. And so they show the making of the film. He starts killing people. In fact, he kills most of the cast. Who in reality didn't die. In fact, Max Schreck died before almost anyone else did on the cast. But it's a really nice film. I really like Shadow of the Vampire. And they use some elements of silent films in it. Like they use the kind of the intertitle bits, where it have the words pop up to tell you what happened in between certain scenes. And the lens, that kind of darkened lens effect as well.
I liked it.
It's a good film. I really enjoyed it. And what's his face? Old Willem Dafoe plays the vampire
he's
so
perfect.
well.
He's got that kind of that slightly neurotic, slightly not manic. That's the wrong.
Psychotic or just cold.
Yeah, kind of and his eyes as well.
Yeah, as though that kind of cold, feral, inhuman.
Yeah,
just like he's a machine. Andy. So yeah, that's Shadow of the Vampire. Now this new film is going to be made by Robert Eggers, who's been at the Sundance Film Festival with a film called The Witch, which has been massively critically acclaimed there. It gets released, I think, later this year. But everyone says it's brilliant, and it's a period piece which is about a child abduction. Obviously, I've not seen it, but apparently everyone's raving about it.
And I'm assuming from the title they're accusing a witch, an old woman, of doing the abduction or something.
I would guess so. He wants to try and use as much new talent as possible. He wants to bring people. He wants it to be kind of experimental and cool and hip.
Brilliant.
So it sounds pretty interesting. But while I was looking into this, I found an interesting story about the original Nosferatu's director, F.W. Murnau. His skull was stolen in mid-July this year. Apparently, he died in 1931 in a car accident in America, and then they brought his body back and he was buried in Germany. His grave was dug up, and his head was stolen from it.
When was this? When did this happen?
This was a few weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah. And they found the residue of candles around the grave. They're saying it could be some kind of occult motives behind it.
And they wanted his head because of connection to the Nosferatu film, or...
I have no idea why. I'm guessing that would be the most... His brother's graves were next to it, as no one messed around with them. And they said it's not the first time that his grave has been... People have tried getting into his grave.
Wow.
So, yeah, so his skull was stolen a few weeks ago.
You want to dig him up and move him, wouldn't you?
What about sealing his grave completely?
Yeah.
But obviously they most probably want to get his head back first. But that is creepy as shit,
That is
isn't
weird. I mean, where will it end up? You have a film about where the journey of that skull, where it goes,
We could do, and there's a vampire stolen it. Could have Max Schreck's vampire coming back and getting
his revenge.
Getting the skull.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just thought that's a little interesting, weird story that you might
That is
know.
bonkers.
Right, we were talking before the show about Hawk the Slayer. Now, Hawk the Slayer was a film that, from the kind of 1979ish, early 1980s, it was shot in 6 weeks in Buckinghamshire for £600,000, and it was the story of two blood brothers. One of them, Hawk, who ends up fighting his evil, deformed brother, Vultan, who was played by Jack Palance.
Why there's an interesting thing I was actually reading about the other day to do with... Well, I've forgotten his name. It was a lad he was in the film with Scarlett Johansson, and she's like an alien. I've forgotten the name of the film, and she has her skin ripped off at the end. And this lad anyway is
Spoilers.
Everyone knows about this. This lad.
I've not seen this film.
Oh, okay. Well, this lad he's deformed in real life, and people assume deformed faces equals evil.
Yeah.
So this film, the evil brother is hideously deformed.
Oh, I see. I'm with you now. The fact that he's kind of disfigured. Yeah, that is true. Yeah, he wears like a mask in it. Now, you've not seen Hawk the Slayer, have you?
No, I haven't. No.
I've seen it a few times, and it's cool because it stars, as well as Jack Palance, it stars Bernard Bresslaw, who was in a lot of Carry On films as a giant. It has elves in it, a dwarf. It had... Oh, I've forgotten his first name now. Rory Kinnear's dad. Roy Kinnear. Roy Kinnear's in it. You've also got Annette Crosby, who was in what was it called? The one with Victor Meldrew in. One Foot in the Grave.
One Foot in the Grave. Oh, her.
She played his wife. She's in the film as this kind of like nun type character.
Wow.
So, Hawk the Slayer, it's credited with, even though it's not got the best special effects, kind of kicked off a craze for fantasy films such as Conan and Willow and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, 35 years later, it turns out that one of the directors of the UK video game company Rebellion was coming up with ideas. Because Rebellion, the video game company, look at their website, they did comics. They had something to do with the Dread film. One of the directors of it was looking through stuff for ideas, and he found his old VHS copy of Hawk the Slayer.
Yeah.
And he thought, this is wicked. He loved it. He was a big fan of the film. Contacted the director of it, and it seems that they're going to try and do a Kickstarter. It starts in August. Raise some money. They want 5 million. Now, they've already got some money, but they're going to try and make the sequel to this film. It's going to be Hawk the Hunter.
It's actually going to be a sequel. It's not going to be a remake.
It's a sequel.
Wow. Okay.
So it's going to be Hawk the Hunter. It's a sequel to the legendary sword and sorcery film.
Look around me. What about that?
I don't know if you heard that, listeners. Lisa's walking around naked, but she just worked out.
She forgot we were here.
So,
I think she forgot about the camera.
the game developer... why are you putting your shoes on?
I've got scared.
You can't, you've got to do the quiz. Otherwise, it's just...
He loses by default.
Otherwise, it's just an instant win to Raoul. Do you want that to happen?
Yes.
Do you want him to win? He will count this as beating you. Stay exactly where you are.
Look, he forfeited. That winner takes all thing, and I trounced him, and all of a sudden he wins because I got one question wrong.
He can stay. Don't worry.
You did that winner takes all thing about 20 times at the Green the other week, didn't you?
That's the pub we go to. We had some games of pool. We found out Raoul is shit at pool. I'm not good at pool. Raoul is very shit at pool.
Really bad.
Rebellion are going to the game developer. They're going to work with the original writer and director Terry Marcel with Kickstarter as well, and they're going to launch a Kickstarter to try and raise some money to make the sequel to this film. Jason Kingsley, who's the director, and he's going to work with his brother Chris Kingsley as acting producers. So Rebellion are an Oxford-based company. They made stuff like Aliens vs Predator and Sniper Elite, and they're going to also have all the rights to making a game and comics based on Hawk the Slayer as well from the end of it. But it sounds pretty cool, I reckon. What do you reckon?
I'm actually think as a sequel, I think that gives them plenty of scope to take
August
it.
the 30th, by the way, it'll be launched on a Kickstarter. But the guy who played Hawk is, getting on now. I hope they have him in it again.
Well, would it be like they did with Poldark recently, where they had the original Poldark actor as the judge? The guy that played Ross Poldark in the original series.
Yeah.
They recharacterised him, or recast him. Sorry, as a different character, but he was still in the mix.
Yeah, could be. I think it'd be interesting. The fact they've got the original kind of guys involved is quite interesting. Obviously, Jack Palance won't be back in it. He's dead. But I think that's a cool idea.
Yeah, I
love stuff like that.
I think, and the fact is, it's kind of got a grassroots approach, like being funded through Kickstarter and so forth, means that their concerns are going to be slightly different to, that of mainstream cinema. So
they could. It can be good or bad, though. I think they'll do stuff that the fans want.
Yeah.
But they could end up making a film that is absolutely shit. Because you do too much of the kind of, we want a bit of this and we want a bit of that.
Yeah.
So I think that's cool. So I'm throwing all of Empire Geek's weighty support. Yeah. Behind that. So look out for that on Kickstarter August the 30th.
That was ghastly.
Go away!
You can have one of those big burgers.
Leave me alone!
You can have a burger, George.